the U.S. economy has had three of its four longest expansions on record. Anchored expectations played a key role in facilitating these expansions. More recently, without that anchor, it would not have been possible to achieve a roughly 5 percentage point disinflation without a spike in unemployment. Keeping longer run inflation expectations anchored was a driving force behind establishing the 2% target in the 2012 framework. Maintaining that anchor was a major consideration behind the changes in 2020. Anchored expectations are critical to everything we do, and we remain fully committed to the 2% target today. In the current review, the committee is engaged in discussions about what we have learned from the experience of the past 5 years. We plan to complete consideration of specific months. We're paying particular attention to the 2020 changes as we consider discrete but important updates reflecting what we have learned about the economy and the way those changes were interpreted by the public. In our discussions so far, participants have indicated that they thought it would be appropriate to reconsider the language around shortfalls. And at our meeting last week, we had a similar take on average inflation targeting. We will ensure that our new consensus statement is robust to a wide range of economic environments and developments. In addition to revising the consensus statement, we will also consider potential enhancements to our formal policy communications, particularly regarding the role of forecasts and uncertainty. As we have been reviewing assessments of the 2020 framework and of policy decisions in recent years, a common observation is the need for clear communications as complex events unfold. While academics and market participants generally have viewed the FOMC communications as effective, there is always room for improvement. Indeed, clear communication is an issue even in relatively placid times. A critical question is how to foster a broader understanding of the uncertainty that the economy generally faces.
Don't say.
In periods with larger, more frequent, or more disparate shocks, effective communication requires that we convey the uncertainty that surrounds our understanding of the economy and the outlook. We will examine ways to improve along that dimension as we move forward. So let me end by saying thank you again for being here. We've been looking forward to this. All of us have been looking forward to being with you today and having these conversations that will occur over the next 2 days. These discussions will help broaden and deepen our thinking about these issues, and they're critical to the success of these reviews. Thank you very much.
Was that? Oh, there better be a Q&A here.
Thank you very much. We are going to just roll right into our first paper session today. On the agenda today will be sessions that address the two sides.
I'm pretty tired today, man. Yo, I'm going to tell you guys this for real. I think this is going to be the nerdiest thing that we've covered. This is a review of the framework of the Fed. My God, if you don't already have some caffeine, people, I'd grab some.
The Federal Reserve.
I'm already out of this trade. I have my stops and break even. I got in right as the market broke back above that support. Dude, this is the fastest trade I've ever taken. 5 minutes, one and done. I got paid. To be honest, I just want to go and get off the charts. What Jerome Powell speaking? What kind of man would I be? What kind of chart addict would I be if I was missing Jerome Powell speaking? But just bear in mind, this is going to be pretty fucking boring. So go grab some caffeine. Make sure you guys got something to, keep you going. And if you haven't already taken the trade, just wait for the spike after the market open. I'm sure we can get a re-entry here for a double bottom. That's it. All right, well, let's run this back. Let's see what we got here. I want to hear the full thing from Big Jerome. Let's get a full.
Thank you, Trevor, and good morning. I'd like to add my welcome to everyone. Thanks for being here. Thomas Laubach's research and his broader support of the FOMC helped us better understand monetary policy, and it is fitting that this work will continue today in his name. Thank you to the authors of the papers, to the discussants, and to our panel participants. And thank you also to Trevor and his team for organizing this conference. A whole lot of work went into bringing us together. As in our last review, the 2025 review consists of 3 key elements: this conference, Fed Listens events at the reserve banks around the country,
Fuck?
and policymaker discussions and deliberations supported by staff analysis at a series of FOMC meetings. In the current review, we will reconsider aspects of our strategic framework in light of the experience of the last 5 years. We will also consider possible enhancements to the committee's policy communication tools regarding forecasts, uncertainty, and risks. In 2012, the FOMC first codified our monetary policy framework in a document entitled the Statement on Longer Run Goals and Monetary Policy Strategy, which we refer to as the consensus statement. The language in the opening paragraph, which has never changed, articulates our commitment to fulfilling our congressional mandate and to explaining clearly what we're doing and why. That clarity reduces uncertainty, improves the effectiveness of our policy, and enhances transparency and accountability. As chair, Ben Bernanke led the committee through the creation of that initial consensus statement, adopting a 2% inflation target and outlining our approach to achieving our congressionally assigned dual mandate. The framework laid out in that document broadly aligned with best practices for a flexible inflation targeting central bank. The structure of the economy evolves over time, and monetary policymakers' strategies, tools, and communications need to evolve with it. The challenges presented by the Great Depression differ from those of the Great Inflation and the Great Moderation, which in turn differ from the ones we face today. A framework should be robust to a broad range of conditions, but also needs to be updated periodically as the economy and our understanding of it evolve. From 2012 to 2018, the FOMC voted at each January meeting to reaffirm the consensus statement, in most years without substantive changes. In 2019, we changed that practice, conducting our first ever public review, and said that we would repeat such reviews at roughly a 5-year interval. There's nothing magic about a 5-year pace. We believe that frequency is appropriate to reassess structural features of the economy and to engage with the public, practitioners, and academics on the performance of our framework. Several of our global peers have adopted similar approaches to their framework reviews. At the time of the last review, we had been living for about a decade in a new normal characterized by proximity to the effective lower bound, with low interest rates, low growth, low inflation, and a very flat Phillips curve. If I could capture that era with one statistic, it would be that the policy rate had been stuck at the lower bound for 7 long years following the onset of the global financial crisis in late 2008. After liftoff in December 2015, we were able to raise the policy rate only very gradually over a period of 3 years to a peak of just 2.4%. 7 months later, we began reducing it, leaving the rate at 1.6% in late 2019, where it would be when the pandemic arrived a few months later. Policy rates in other major advanced economies were even lower, in many cases below zero, and in all such economies, inflation regularly ran below its target. The sense at that time was that when the economy next experienced even a mild downturn, we would be right back at the lower bound, probably for another extended period. The post-financial crisis decade had demonstrated the pain that that could bring. Inflation would likely decline in a weak economy, raising real interest rates as nominal rates are pinned at zero. Higher real rates would further weigh on job growth and reinforce downward pressure on inflation and inflation expectations. Reflecting these concerns, we adopted a policy to make up for persistent shortfalls from the inflation, an approach that was common in the extensive literature on the risks associated with the lower bound. Given the downside risks to employment and inflation from proximity to the lower bound, and the need to anchor longer-term inflation expectations at 2%, we said that following periods in which inflation has been running persistently below 2%, we would likely aim to achieve inflation moderately above 2% for some time. We also concluded that policy decisions would be informed by assessments of shortfalls rather than deviations from maximum employment. The change to shortfalls was not a commitment to permanently forswear preemption or to ignore labor market tightness. Rather, it signaled that apparent labor market tightness would not, in isolation, be enough to trigger a policy response, unless the committee believed that, if left unchecked, it would lead to unwelcome inflationary pressure. This change reflected our experience with long expansions that featured historically low unemployment amid low and stable inflation, suggesting that a policy approach that carefully probed for the maximum level of employment could bring about the benefits of a strong labor market without risking price stability. In the years just prior to the pandemic, for example, unemployment was at multi-decade lows, while inflation ran below 2%. By December 2019, estimates of the longer run unemployment rate had fallen sharply. The use of shortfalls acknowledged that a combination of low inflation and low unemployment does not necessarily pose an adverse trade-off for monetary policy. The economic conditions that brought us close to the lower bound and drove the changes in our consensus statement were thought to be rooted in slow-moving global factors that were likely to persist for an extended period, at least until our next 5-year review. And that might well have been the case had the pandemic not intervened. The idea of an intentional moderate overshoot proved irrelevant to our policy discussion.
This is Pod 5, the first fully immersive sleep system. Intelligent, adaptive.
What the?
About the global inflation that arrived a few months after we announced our changes to the consensus statement.
Yo, people, I'm so tired today, and I already made my money. I'm gonna let this play out, but it was a pretty short speech. I'm gonna let it play. I might play one or two more things. I mean, today's a pretty big day. We got we got Russia and Ukraine meeting in Turkey, etc. But I can't even see my fucking screen. It shows everything's blurry, and I'm already up, and I'm paid today. So just want to give you guys that heads up.
And
don't be surprised if we cut this thing off
as much publicly in December 2021. We fell back on the rest of the framework, which called for traditional inflation targeting. Through the end of 2021, FOMC participants continued to forecast that inflation was likely to subside fairly quickly in 2022, with only a moderate increase in our policy rate. That projection was consistent with other central banks with different frameworks and the vast majority of forecasters. When the evidence showed otherwise, we hiked 525 basis points over a period of 16 months. The most recent data suggests that 12-month PCE inflation was 2.2%, far below its 7.2% peak in 2022. And in a welcome and historically unusual result, as this room knows, this disinflation has come without the sharp increase in unemployment that has often accompanied a campaign of rate hikes to reduce inflation. The economic environment has changed significantly since 2020, and our review will reflect our assessment of those changes. Longer-term interest rates are a good deal higher now, driven largely by real rates, given the stability of longer-term inflation expectations. Many estimates of the longer-run level of the policy rate have risen, including those in the summary of economic projections. Higher real rates may also reflect the possibility that inflation could be more volatile going forward than during the inter-crisis period of the 2010s. We may be entering a period of more frequent and potentially more persistent supply shocks, a difficult challenge for the economy and for central banks. While our policy rate is currently well above the lower bound, in recent decades, we have cut the rate by about 500 basis points when the economy is in recession. Although getting stuck at the lower bound is no longer the base case, it is only prudent that the framework continue to address that risk. While the framework some elements behind this, policymakers emerged from the great inflation with a clear understanding that it was essential to anchor inflation expectations at an appropriately low level. Well-anchored inflation expectations allowed us to provide policy support to employment without risking destabilizing inflation. Since the great inflation, the U.S. economy has had 3 of its 4 longest expansions on record. Anchored expectations played a key role in facilitating these expansions. More recently, without that anchor, it would not have been possible to achieve a roughly 5 percentage point disinflation without a spike in unemployment. Keeping longer-run inflation expectations anchored was a driving force behind establishing the 2% target in the 2012 framework. Maintaining that anchor was a major consideration behind the changes in 2020. Anchored expectations are critical to everything we do, and we remain fully committed to the 2% target today. In the current review, the committee is engaged in discussions about what we have learned from the experience of the past 5 years. We plan to complete consideration of specific changes to the consensus statement in coming months. We're paying particular attention to the 2020 changes as we consider discrete but important updates reflecting what we have learned about the economy and the way those changes were interpreted by the public. In our discussions so far, participants have indicated that they thought it would be appropriate to reconsider the language around shortfalls. And at our meeting last week, we had a similar take on average inflation targeting. We will ensure that our new consensus statement is robust to a wide range of economic environments and developments. In addition to revising the consensus statement, we will also consider potential enhancements to our formal policy communications, particularly regarding the role of forecasts and uncertainty. As we have been reviewing assessments of the 2020 framework and of policy decisions in recent years, a common observation is the need for clear communications as complex events unfold. While academics and market participants generally have viewed the FOMC communications as effective, there is always room for improvement. Indeed, clear.
Fuck, this is the most useless speech I ever heard in my life. God damn it. I mean, I don't know why I thought he would fucking say anything. This wasn't about macro. This wasn't about economics. This was about the policy framework of the Fed, their mandates, which, newsflash, they can't fucking change if they wanted to because it's a mandate given to them by Congress. And their oversight is from the Board of Governors. And so it's not like they can change the Fed's framework. I guess they can.
I'll take it seriously.
They can obviously make recommendations, but he just got up there and then he just gave like a little history lesson about the Fed. I've never wanted a refund on my time so fucking badly. Peeps, I had a pretty long day yesterday and honestly wasn't planning on streaming until much later, but I heard Jerome Powell was speaking, had to hop on here. I'm very disappointed. You know what I'm saying? Fuck Jerome. This is how I feel right now. I'm gonna go get some caffeine, see if I feel a bit different. There's a lot of news going on today. Potentially ceasefire between Ukraine, Russia. They're gonna be meeting in Turkey today. Potentially might see a guest appearance from Trump. We'll see. But that's a pretty big deal. Yesterday we had a great webinar. If you guys showed up to that, congratulations. I think it was really dope. We gave out some promo codes on that as well. And yeah, basically 5 minutes and I got paid today. And so basically it. He says, go get a colada. Brother, I'm gonna need something stronger than a colada. I need crack or something right now. All jokes. But fucking I don't necessarily think like we're gonna like firing Powell is gonna do anything. I think Trump is retarded. Like I've actually started to really, really, really turn on the Trump campaign. While I love the fact that they have hit on all the main issues and they have brought to the forefront all the most important things that we should be focusing on. It's just getting worse by the day. Disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. But the fucking this all started when Marco Rubio was nominated to be Secretary of State. That's when I knew we were fucked. I'm like, brother, all the shit that you went through the first year, all the things that you tried to change, and now you have all the experience, and you come back and put fucking Marco Rubio as the Secretary of State. Oh, Roy, what's wrong with Marco Rubio? He's a nice guy. Yeah, it takes more than being a fucking nice guy to be the Secretary of State. You gotta not be retarded. Now, Trump is retarded, right? So he pressure Powell to start cutting rates in an environment where we already have supply chain shocks. We're damn near at war with all of our biggest trade partners, especially China. We're already looking at supply chains getting hit. People are talking about inflation coming back in. If we dropped interest rates, the demand for housing would go up, the demand for automobiles, the demand for consumer goods goes up, debt usage goes up. Okay, I get it. Demand goes up. And guess what? If supply is limited and demand goes up, then prices go up. And so Jerome Powell was like, no, that's retarded. And Trump is like, oh, I can't wait to fire this guy. Bro, fuck. Let Scott Besson talk about money, man. God damn it. See, this is what happens when I don't have caffeine, man. I'm gonna give you guys just the honest truth. This shit is fucking stupid. These people are borderline retarded. Scott Besson, not retarded. What's his name? Steve Witkoff? Complete fucking stud. Who's the okay, so we got Witkoff, Besson. Who else do we have here? But that's basically it. I guess Jay Bhattacharya over at HHS. I like him too. Dan Bongino at FBI. So I guess there are some really, really solid people. But I'll take Dan Bongino over Kash Patel at this point, even though I do like Kash Patel. Anyways, whatever. Jerome Powell, he's doing his job. the Fed really, I mean, the Fed shouldn't fucking exist in the first place. So I guess if we're really going to start there, but if it's going to exist, I'd rather have Jerome Powell than Ben Bernanke or fucking Janet Yellen. Oh God. Oh God. You know, we dodged a bullet. Now there is something in here that I think he mentioned very important, which is what was the dynamic before COVID? We were studying this. The markets crashed. I always say the story that inflation was starting to ramp up already. Jerome Powell was early. He was early on this. He was like, "Yo, this shit's getting out of control. We got to start raising rates." And they raised rates after 15 years of keeping them at zero. And as soon as they raised the rates, markets crashed. And then he did it again, and markets crashed again. And then he had to kind of capitulate. Then COVID happened. They just dropped the rates all the way back to zero. They said, get the party back started. And I think he mentioned this right here.
We remain fully committed to the 2% points when the economy is in risk. Inflation was 2.2.
There we go.
We fell back on the rest of the increase in our policy rate. That projection, and the evidence showed otherwise, we hiked central banks with different framework. That projection was fairly quickly in 2022, with only a moderate increase.
We're already in
as much
22.
publicly in December 2021.
21.
Not intervened. The idea of an intentional moderate overshoot proved
It's a good understanding to have like this little historical lesson right here. It's gonna do it in like 5 minutes. He's going through 2019,
factors
2020.
that were likely to persist for an extended period.
So a
at
little bit
least until
further
our
back. A little bit further back.
policy.
If you guys are watching this on YouTube, hit like and subscribe because YouTube does not like me because I speak my mind and they do not push this stream. Also, click the link in the description. Make sure to sign up for the master class before registration ends. That's your reminder.
The economic conditions that brought us close to the lower bound and drove the changes in our consensus
There we
statement
go.
were
This
thought
is
to be
cool.
rooted in slow-moving global factors that were likely to persist for an extended period, at least until our next 5-year review. And that might well have been the case had the pandemic not intervened. The idea of an intentional moderate overshoot proved irrelevant to our policy discussions and has remained so through today. There was nothing intentional or moderate about the global inflation that arrived a few months after we announced our changes to the consensus statement, and I acknowledged as much publicly in December 2021. We fell back on the rest of the framework, which called for traditional inflation targeting. Through the end of 2021, FOMC participants continued to forecast that inflation was likely to subside fairly quickly in 2022, with only a moderate increase in our policy rate. That projection was consistent with other central banks with different frameworks and the vast majority of forecasters. When the evidence showed otherwise, we hiked 525 basis points over a period of 16 months. The most recent data suggests that 12-month PCE inflation was 2.2% in April, far below its 7.2% peak in 2022.
Okay.
And
Made in December 2021. This isn't correct. What the fuck is this? Oh, this is the SEP. Okay. But if we knew anything, is that when Trump left office, inflation actually was around like 4%. But at the peak when Joe Biden took over, inflation had ramped back up to 6%. And then they announced that fucking God, I think about how retarded this is. The Inflation Reduction Act. Like everything in Congress or everything in the US government is named the exact opposite of what it does. I always make this as even though it's not a joke, but like the Saving Kids Act. And it's like literally how to drop bombs on children or something. It's like the most retarded shit. And so the Inflation Reduction Act pumped $2 trillion into the economy at a 6% inflation rate. So prices were already fucked. And then that drove inflation up to 9%. So I don't know why the SCP or the blue chip report or the blue chip consensus is showing core inflation at 2.6. Maybe these are excuse me. These are the forecasts that were made in 2021 before the Bidenomic inflation shock. So I guess they were expecting the trend to continue moving downwards in 2022 and by the end of 2022 kind of have some rate cuts. Okay, this makes a lot of sense. They did not expect Biden to come in and pump $2 trillion into this shit and fuck up everything.
welcome and historically
That's
unusual result, as this room knows, this disinflation has come without the sharp increase in unemployment that has often accompanied a campaign of rate hikes to reduce inflation. The economic environment has changed significantly since 2020, and our review will reflect our assessment of those changes. Longer-term interest rates are a good deal higher now, driven largely by real rates, given the stability of longer-term inflation expectations. Many estimates of the longer-run level of the policy rate have risen, including those in the Summary of Economic Projections. Higher real rates may also reflect the possibility that inflation could be more volatile going forward than during the intercrisis period of the 2010s. We may be entering a period of more frequent and potentially more persistent supply shocks, a difficult challenge for the economy and for central banks. What?
Oh, let me see this. Primary dealers. Yeah, y'all know all about that, wouldn't you? All right, hold on. 2013, 2015, 2017. Of the primary dealers. What is this? Oh, the Fed funds rate. Okay, so this is the interest rates. So obviously we had, this makes no fucking sense. We were at the zero bound all the way through. And then 2019, it went up. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at here. Federal Reserve Bank of New York, longer run Federal Reserve rate, summary of economic projections and survey. I'm so confused. This is how it, like, we were at zero rates, basically from 2008 to like 14 years of just zero rates. And then we just started to pump up recently. Now we're around 5%. So I guess this is like an older estimate that they had.
Evolve.
Maybe this entire presentation is about how the Fed can't predict shit accurately and they need to change their framework.
Some elements of it are timeless. Policymakers emerged from the Great Inflation with a clear understanding that it was essential to anchor inflation expectations at an appropriately low level. During the Great Moderation, well-anchored inflation expectations allowed us to provide policy support to employment without risking destabilizing inflation. Since the Great Inflation, the U.S. economy has had 3 of its 4 longest expansions on record. Anchored expectations played a key role in facilitating these expansions. More recently, without that anchor, it would not have been possible to achieve a roughly 5 percentage point disinflation without a spike in unemployment. Keeping longer-run inflation expectations anchored was a driving force behind establishing the 2% target in the 2012 framework. Maintaining that anchor was a major consideration behind the changes in 2020. Anchored expectations are critical to everything we do, and we remain fully committed to the 2% target today. In the current review, the committee is engaged in discussions about what we have learned from the experience of the past 5 years. We plan to complete consideration of specific changes to the consensus statement in coming months. We're paying particular attention to the 2020 changes as we consider discrete but important updates reflecting what we have learned about the economy and the way those changes were interpreted by the public. In our discussions so far, participants have indicated that they thought it would be appropriate to reconsider the language around shortfalls. And at our meeting last week, we had a similar take on average inflation targeting. We will ensure that our new consensus statement is robust to a wide range of economic environments and developments. In addition to revising the consensus statement, we will also consider potential enhancements to our formal policy communications, particularly regarding the role of forecasts and uncertainty. As we have been reviewing assessments of the 2020 framework and of policy decisions in recent years, a common observation is the need for clear communications as complex events unfold. While academics and market participants generally have viewed the FOMC communications as effective, there is always room for improvement. Indeed, clear communication is an issue even in relatively placid times. A critical question is how to foster a broader understanding of the uncertainty that the economy generally faces. In periods with larger, more frequent, or more disparate shocks, effective communication requires that we convey the uncertainty that surrounds our understanding of the economy and the outlook. We will examine ways to improve along that dimension as we move forward. So let me end by saying thank you again for being here. We've been looking forward to this. All of us have been looking forward to being with you today and having these conversations that will occur over the next 2 days. These discussions will help broaden and deepen our thinking about these issues, and they're critical to the success of these reviews. Thank you very much.
All right.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Now, if I can point your attention to something over here. You guys remember yesterday on the live stream where we called this exact trade? I literally told you guys, this is the area I'm going to buy from. Let me see. This man Jerome Powell couldn't have spoken for a little bit longer. I ran upstairs to grab a Celsius, and he just want to welcome. Okay. Oh, that's May 11th. Hold on. Why is this all out of order? Latest 3 days ago. What? Yo, where's my fucking live? Oh, it's got to be under live streams. That makes sense. All right. Nope. Saudi Investment Forum. Bro, what the hell's going on? This might be it. Okay, so now if I can kindly point your attention to this chart, okay, basically we're sitting at this daily support. Price had formed that sort of like the weekly low. We already had this expansion to the upside, and I just wanted to come back and get a retest right below that area of support. That's exactly where price hit. You guys can see where that black line is if I zoom in here. Can I zoom in on YouTube? Well, you should be able to zoom in on a YouTube video, right? All right, whatever. Let's assume that we can zoom in here. Yeah, basically same exact price. That thing hit. Absolutely incredible. You guys see where the 88.6 is? That's 21,141. 21,141. Yo, Devaney, 21,144 is what you said yesterday, right? Yup. Good fucking call. That's what I'm talking about. I'm proud. Okay. There's a lot of news today, but I'm not sure it's going to happen right now. So in case you guys haven't already subscribed, make sure to subscribe to our email list. Get this morning report every day. Shows you kind of some basic updates on stocks, basic updates on things to watch, like the economic data today. 8:30, but we had everything this morning. All right, we had PPI, core PPI, we had retail sales, we had initial jobs claims, and obviously Jerome Powell speaking later. We have Fed Governor Barr speaking, but it's a pre-recorded speech, so it's not going to be too big of a market mover. Here's the bigger market movers, though. We have the Trump Saudi economic pact. We have the Qatar trade deals. We just lifted sanctions on Syria. All right, now we're starting to kind of fix things with Iran. And of course, the number one focus today is going to be Ukraine, Russia. So let's see if they've actually started, if there's probably not going to be any live streams. This is literally to end World War III or the prospects of World War III. And both sides have not spoken to each other, at least Putin and Zelensky directly. And so I highly doubt that they're going to allow media inside, but I'm confident that not the trade representatives, women's so deep in trade, we forgot that there's wars happening. But these war negotiations, if the representatives from both sides have a decent meeting, I think they'll do the same thing that we did with the China meeting, which is very private. No details were disclosed, as it should be in negotiations. But they still go out, do a media scrum after, and just kind of give out some like rah-rah, say it was positive or negative. We're gonna do the FX replay dirty this year. Well, we're gonna do the prop firms dirty this year first, and the brokers, and then we can worry about the FX replay. Okay? Because I'm probably still gonna be fucking around on the challenge and just not be staring at the screen. Bro, I almost beat everybody on that panel. I almost beat Bob Elliott without even looking at the screen. And it was a blessing and a curse. In case you guys don't know what I'm talking about, the last FX Summit, we had a big trading challenge hosted by FX Replay. This is like we kind of made it look like the New York Stock Exchange was a big whole thing of a thing. And I'm competing against all the bigger influencers, like Raja Banks was there, and then Bob Elliott, You know, he was there and we were all competing and it was awesome. I came in third place, right behind Bob. Bob is still talking shit to this day. But Devaney and a few people were behind me, and I'm basically telling them exactly what trades I'm taking and what I'm about to do, and I'm not even looking at the screen. And so I'm like taking the trade, and they're all looking at the screen for me. They're panicking. They're like, "Roy, I think it's going to break down under support. You should get out of the trade." I was like, "Nope, nope." But because I was clicking through so fast, the market had jumped. I was up 10-1. Okay, I was up percentage wise. I think I was up like 122% off of that, off of just two trades. And then I just over clicked because I wasn't looking at the screen, and the market just came smashing all the way back down, random news event, whatever. So, lesson, don't get cocky. I would have won. Bragging rights. No. Today, I still have Bob Elliott texting me, "Oh, we don't talk to losers." I'm like, "Bob, we're friends." He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Dad. How does third place taste?" Bro, yeah, it was some NFP shit. No, it was worse than NFP. It was like fucking, it was like COVID or some dumb shit. I was like, "Bro, this is stupid." All right, President Zelensky lands in Turkey ahead of Russia and Ukraine. Oh, there's a press conference. Zelensky holds press conference after Putin shuns. Uh, World leaders have criticized Russian President Vladimir Putin for sending a low-level team to the peace talks in Turkey. Yo, son, he sent the B team. Yo, do you guys know, like in a basketball game, when you're up dramatically, like you're up such a big lead, and so you take your starting players out. You don't want them to get injured. You put in your second team. You put in your third team. You guys go get some reps in. Putin did not have enough faith in these people to even send his A team. And Zelensky showed up in person in his fucking night clothes or whatever he keeps fucking wearing. Bro, the level of corruption in Ukraine. I'm gonna have to like write a book about this, right? It's gonna be like the truth and like the new Ukraine or some wild fucking. If you guys really knew what the fuck was happening in Ukraine and the level of corruption, it would blow your mind. I'm gonna give you one tidbit. This man Zelensky's wife out here in Italy buying Birkin bags in the middle of a war. Million people, million men died. Died. He had a chance at a ceasefire a month after this fucking thing started. He let Boris Johnson talk him out of signing a ceasefire just to kill every last working military age male in all of Ukraine. So like, oh, we're gonna have to do the reconstruction of Ukraine. Guess who owns the contracts already for reconstruction in Syria and Ukraine and potentially Gaza? It's fucking BlackRock. Guess who's one of the largest stakeholders in all the defense companies, all the weapons manufacturers? Who's the biggest shareholder in the defense manufacturers? It's fucking BlackRock. Conflict of interest. So the more destruction, the more your contract is worth when you go to fix it. Would somebody kill off a whole bunch of people and start a war just to make, $100 billion? Well, I don't know, people. I was listening to the morning report, the morning fucking news on the way to go get some caffeine from the store, and they said some dude was arguing with his neighbor over a fucking speed bump, and he shot him in front of his kids. Shot him with a gun over a speed bump. So yeah, I think that there's somebody out there. I think there's somebody out there that will exacerbate a war. Now, you guys can go do your own research on that. This is all allegedly, all of it, allegedly, right? YouTube, allegedly, right? I love Biden, Clinton, all of it. You know what I'm saying? Not all of it, man. Fauci, the best. Don't take down the channel. All right. Trump says a visit to Turkey for Russia-Ukraine talks is unlikely. Yeah, now that makes sense. I got it cooked. Give me something. What is this? But how did this man Trump sleeps 3 hours a day? He's traveling to 2, 3 countries a day. He's 80 years old. If you guys want to sit here and bitch out today and just bitch around about how tired you are, how you don't feel like this, or how the fuck is your excuse? And I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, what the fuck is this man made out of? Sleeping 3 hours a night. Oh man.
like me to be there. And that's a possibility. I could end the war. I think about it.
From my understanding, Putin wanted Trump to be there. Trump was not willing to go unless Putin was going to go. And so they both just kind of, it's like a chicken and the egg thing. Zelensky meets with Erdogan. Now, Erdogan, the president of Turkey, has been a very contentious figure lately. There's been a lot of, like, Turkey is one of the dominant forces in the Middle East. Okay, if you guys want to kind of look at, the map is one thing, but if you guys want to look at population and then you want to look at the size of militaries, let me actually just show you this size of militaries in the Middle East. Because I think a lot of people have a misconception over which countries are the strongest, which countries are not. But there's a reason why like two countries keep being mentioned, or three. It's Iran, Turkey, and Egypt. But the Middle East has, a few sizable military. So Egypt and Iran have the largest militaries in the Middle East. That's why this whole thing about going to war with Iran on behalf of Israel is like, but this is like your small, like your small friend. This is like a small friend, and always get you in fights, and then they find this dude who's like fucking massive, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna go start a fight there, knowing that I'm gonna have to pick up the slack. Like, this is obviously gonna be America's war and not Israel's. With Egypt has 1.2 million people, and Iran has 1.1. Dude, what's the size of the U.S. military, for fuck's sake? I'm kind of worried right now. This actually seems like they have more fucking military people than we do. Size of the U.S. Okay, thank you. All right, 3.4 million people strong. This is active duty and reserve. 2.5 million military personnel, and there's about 50% active duty. Hold on. As well as civilians supporting the Department of Defense. Oh, fuck me. That's just a bunch of like useless government workers. I'm sorry if anybody here was for the DoD. But we sure as hell don't need 1.1 million DoD workers versus, like 50% of active duty members, and the rest are bureaucratic, like operational people and reservists, obviously. Then we have so Egypt and Iran, sizable militaries, like seriously. Turkey has about 880,000, and Israel has about 670,000, which is basically Israel, I think, makes the entire adult population register to or register for the draft. And so I think they have a significant percentage of their population that serves. Like, if it was an all out a regional war and like Egypt was under attack or Iran, would more of their citizenry step in and actually make their military bigger? I think so. And they have massive populations there. Okay. So I think it's pretty important, and Erdogan has sort of been a thorn in the side of a lot of leaders. Trump was the best person to deal with him, I think, when he was fighting. I think it was like the Armenians were fighting the Azerbaijanis, like it was Azerbaijan versus Armenia, or some, age-old battles. And the Armenians were retreating. Trump sends a public message to Erdogan, says, do not bomb the troops as they're retreating. And Erdogan bombs them. Like 20 minutes later, missiles hit retreating troops. Not good. Trump crashes the Turkish lira in like a tweet. Guys, I swear to God, we're watching the chart. It was the Turkish lira versus the dollar. Oh, let me actually see if I can find this chart. Man, this is history right here. I gotta find this chart for you guys. He did that, and then basically Erdogan ended up creating a security perimeter around the retreating forces to make sure they have a safe surrender. So I think Trump has a pretty good understanding of how to deal with countries using economic pressure and economic leverage, as opposed to just like the fucking whatever Obama did, just drone strike kids because we're too retarded to like do anything else. Like, imagine you could just crash the currency of a country and then they can fold, or you can put 100% tariffs on a country and they'll fold, instead of having to bomb fucking children and create generations of terrorism. Like, maybe that was a better idea. And then they fucking gave Obama a Nobel Peace Prize. Like, yeah, yeah, we're cooked. We are cooked. This is why the aliens haven't visited. No, you're sitting there thinking to yourself, well, where's the aliens? The Fermi's paradox. Where's the aliens? Fucking not here. Would you sit down and see a bunch of just worms just hanging out in the fucking dirt and be like, oh, I wonder what they're thinking? No, worm. You feel me? And that's what the aliens think of us because we are retarded. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk, people. All right, we'll do the Turkish. All right, you guys caught me when I'm tired. I jumped on here without proper, no morning routine, nothing, people. I just jumped on here for us. And so yeah, I'm not liable for whatever I say. Was this it? Nope, that's March. When did Trump crash Turkish? I want to say November 2021. Let's see if that's it. Yeah, that sounds about right. There she is. This is Trump. Okay, so you guys can see that, like, in the history of the lira, there's been some crashes, but it's mostly just been kind of consolidations, steady corrections, and kind of a steady flow up. And then look at this. This is a heartbeat model if I've ever seen one, people. The heartbeat model, by the way, it's based on like just how the markets naturally form based on human psychology. There's the uncertainty period, there's the optimism and euphoria period, then there's the fear, then there's the despair, then there's the capitulation, and then once the capitulation happens and you have the reset of the trend, these are naturally occurring, observations, and whoever designed the market obviously designed it off of this natural flow. Anyways, just a little fun fact on the side. But this is what Trump did. And so right now, Erdogan has been basically he's trying to tell the US, like, yo, we're in the Middle East, we're over here, and you guys have to come and talk to us. Like, you guys can't just be running the Middle East. And it's kind of been a bit of a problematic relationship. Turkey has oftentimes sided with some adversarial nations to the US. Let's see what happens here. So 2 days ago, Trump was in Saudi Arabia, biggest arms deal in history, 140 billion. Then we get to Qatar yesterday. They just signed the biggest deal for Boeing to do planes. So we're going to sell them planes, and they wanted to gift Trump a plane. All right. And then today he's in the UAE. Those are the big three Gulf nation states, the big oil producing nations. So I don't really care what Zelensky has to say. We'll probably have to go back and review that later. So let's see what Trump has got going on here and see if there is some kind of press conference we can watch. All right, yeah, it looks like Putin just basically did not show up to the peace talks, which is fucking hilarious, by the way. But also, I feel like there's assassination attempts and like all types of dirty shit they would try, even though Putin and Erdogan seem to get along. What is going on here? All right, I love the UAE, by the way. We were just in Dubai for the last FX summit. I'll tell you guys, the most unique country in the world. I forgot my phone at the table at this restaurant, and it was in the mall. It was like a nice restaurant. We're in the mall. We leave. We're out walking around, whatever. I'm like, shit, dude, I forgot my stuff. I'm running back. I come back, and my phone. This is like an hour and a half later, people. All right, clearly, I wasn't checking my phone. Right, I was out there living life, being present. Dude, I go back. It wasn't an hour and a half. What the fuck I'm doing in the mall for an hour and a half? I go back. It's right there on the table. And so I sat there and I asked the people, like, what they do in America is if they're a good restaurant, they'll take it. There's a lost and found, and you'll come back and you'll ask them. Why? Because you can't just leave the stuff on the table. They got to try to sell that table to somebody. These people in Dubai, man, they said nobody's taking that table. If we're going to lose business, we're going to lose business. But that phone is staying right there. The penalty for petty crimes is so high. Oh my God, that's a beautiful room. Bro, yesterday, bro, is it allowed for him to be speaking with a woman alone? This is crazy. What? My man was about to break all types of customs. Well, they got him in the middle of this shit, bro. Is this some kind of seance? I've seen this before. Guardians of the Galaxy, they're gonna beam up. But yesterday he was giving tons of praise to the Qataris for how beautiful their building was. And the UAE was like, "Oh, you oh, you want to see some shit? Oh, you like that shit? All right, come and see this. Come and see what it really looks like." And Trump as a builder, and that's kind of his, if you guys really, really do a deep dive on who Donald Trump is, like his biggest passion has always been flexing the biggest and most outlandish properties in the world. You see, Mar-a-Lago is the nicest building in all of Florida, and Florida's got some nice fucking buildings. You see New York, all his New York properties, the Trump Tower, like the Hyatt Hotel, or not the Hyatt. Yeah, I guess it is the new Hyatt. The Trump, all the Trump Towers, all the Trump hotels, even the Trump Towers that he puts his name on in Florida, even though some are franchised. He's got the most beautiful buildings in the world. Look at all his golf courses, the one in Ireland, nicest golf course in the world. So he's over here looking at these rich Saudis and these rich UAE guys being like, bro, shit. There's levels to this. There's levels to money. Obviously, like we're spending money on not like buildings and stuff, like defense, shit that actually matters. But if we didn't, maybe we would, if we're 2 trillion in debt, and instead of like, I don't know, bombing the Houthis, we like built marble buildings. I think we can compete. Like, get this, instead of like Nicaraguan Sesame Street, we could have built a couple nice fucking buildings, had something to flex when people came to the country. All right, it seems like they're doing like the pre-press kind of run. We will wait for just a moment until they do that sort of press conference. All right, so I made that whole fucking example about the UAE being safe, whatnot, because the king can walk around the mall with no security by himself. Now, obviously, there's security. Like these people lurking, you can't see them, but that's crazy. Imagine like, dude, you can't even be a fucking district. You can't even be like head of a school board here in America and like show your fucking face in public because all of our politicians are corrupt. And so it'd be like, they can't actually like, engage amongst the people because like everyone knows they're criminals. Uh, like, Roy, all politicians can't be criminals. You see how that sound? You see how stupid that sounded even when I just said that? Okay, let's see what we got here. They got the whole reception. I broke out the children's choir and shit, waving flags. Yo, not gonna lie, I really hope this is ceremonial. I really hope this is ceremonial, bro. I don't know if these dudes look equipped for warfare, brother. But that musket looks like you still have to load it up. Like, guys know about Civil War. You gotta fucking put the gunpowder in it. You gotta load it up. Those muskets don't look like they work, man. Those look like souvenirs. This, yo, son. I hope this is ceremonial. Because even our Marines, when we do like a Marine sort of like walk or whatever, those dudes look ready. They got that uniform on. I mean, then again, they do have those muskets. They got the fucking bayonet on it. Shit, we're all just goofy. We're all just doing performative ceremonial stuff. I like it though. You guys can see the smile on Trump's face. He loves this shit. Oh, he's loving this. All right, so is NASDAQ gonna go dry for the rest of the day? Probably. Let's see. Or we just have a massive boom to the upside. I'm already out. So, I mean, I guess we could get a re-entry. I mean, actually, the re-entry is looking pretty possible now. Yeah, double bottom. You guys see this candle forming right here? If we go down to the 15-minute time frame, even the 5-minute. Okay, this is the exact same thing that just happened. You have a wedge. Okay, the market breaks out of the wedge. All the baby pips traders start shorting, and we go long. Oh, wait. Damn, what? No. All right. So here on the 5-minute, same thing, little wedge. I want to see a breakdown double bottom, retest of that entry zone from earlier, and boom. All right, it's 10 minutes after the market open, and so we should have this should happen in the next 20 to 30 minutes. Okay, so if you guys want to do something like save yourself time, just set an alert here. Fucking, so let me show you guys the souse. All right, add alert on NAS. Oh wait, right here. Add alert. Create the alert. Okay, now when the market gets there, I'm going to be notified on my phone with this annoying ass little, this little sound that goes off. So now I could just fuck off and make jokes, roast Trump. I could do these things. Now, with all the issues I have about Trump, I know I've been getting more and more critical. I do have to say this just to kind of make it like my main point. This is the proudest I've been of America in a while. Everywhere we go, we're getting the reception of a lifetime. Joe Biden didn't even know where he was when he went to these places. They'd have all the festivities and the ceremonies. He didn't know which way to walk. The staffers next to him said left, left, left. Oh no, you're the other left. Look at Trump. Every room he walks in, people are like, this is like a mythical creature. Yeah, I was at the UFC fight in Miami. The first time UFC had came back to Miami in a long time. And Trump walks in. And my God, people, because there was a crazy knockout fight right before, and everybody's already on their feet. I promise you, in the middle of this big fight that was happening, obviously it's a UFC fight, everybody turns their head to Donald Trump, and everybody's staring at Donald Trump, chanting USA. And these two men are fighting for millions of dollars for their life in this fucking cage, and no one cares. I saw something with Trump that made everybody proud to be American again. Because like with Biden, it's just like you kind of just hang your head in shame. They'd be like, yo, is that your man's? Be like, no, 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 no. I'm not with him. Like I know him, like, but he's not my man's. You know, with Trump, I don't agree with like 90% of the shit that they've been doing lately. They're like, yo, is that your man's? I'm like, yeah, the fuck it is. Say something. Because you know what I'm saying? There's a respect level that he commands. He's literally not a cartoon character. He's like a fictional character. He's like a mythical creature. He walks in, you're like, holy shit, he's real. He actually looks exactly like that in person. And he carries with him that thing. And so, like, when was the last time you guys saw a US president do this Middle East tour? Most of us are around the same age. Never. We've been engaged in literally, what the fuck is this? I saw this in The Grudge one time, people. This shit used to keep me up at night. I saw this in the what's it called? What's the one where the bitch comes out the TV? You guys know what I'm talking about. The Ring. If you guys can't see on the TV, there was a bunch of hair flipping going on. It was a ceremonial thing. Just it was weird. But the whole we've been engaged in Middle East wars for about 20 years, no longer, since before Desert Storm, since George Bush Sr. Dude, every president has basically destroyed the Middle East and created all these terrorist groups. We'll be like, Roy, that's a crazy thing to say. What do you mean we created these terrorist groups? Do you mean that, Roy, we indirectly created these terrorist groups by indiscriminately bombing innocent people in their own country for no reason? Well, yeah, probably. We're all sitting here right now on this live stream. I guarantee you somebody bombs my house randomly because they're mad at Canada. Like some Canadians do an attack and like they invade America and like I get bombed and my cousins are dead and like everyone I love is dead. Bro, me and the boys squatting up. You guys have seen Law Abiding Citizen? I'm doing that shit. I'm going medieval. Okay? So I'm not gonna sit here and throw judgments around for what people decide to do with their thing. But the US policy of us getting involved in the Middle East wars for no fucking reason, we did not need to get in the wars to control the petrodollar, to protect the dollar's hegemony. Because you look at Gaddafi in Libya and Somalia, and then you look at the Shah of Iran, you look at Saddam Hussein, and you look at every leader we've taken, and Muammar Gaddafi, excuse me, what's his name from fucking Egypt? You guys know what I'm saying? I just did the Joe Biden thing. You kind of like just cut the sentence in half. Be like, you guys know the thing. No, we don't know the thing. But I think that this new policy of look at him side by side, leaning over the chair, having a casual conversation with his boys. Or we can go bomb 1 million kids. And some fucking retard's gonna go on TV today and be like, this is a disgrace that we're out here meeting with the leaders and this and that. They fund terrorism. What the fuck does that even mean? They fund terrorism. Yesterday they were in Qatar. They're talking about why would we be in Qatar? They're one of the biggest sponsors of terrorism. But again, this is why the American school system, bro, we're retarded. We're literally retarded. Well, I'm not retarded, but most people are retarded. The biggest military base in the world is in Qatar. They're not exactly our fucking enemies. U.S. base, how we do defense, right? Very important thing to like not put in a terrorist stronghold, right? So if Qatar was like a terrorist stronghold, maybe we wouldn't have the world's largest military base there. Think of that. And so no, they would just want to see kids getting bombed and they want to see the defense industry making money. They don't want to see Trump leaning over the chair, that bright blue suit with the hands. He's doing the hand thing with the Saudi. Or I'm sorry, this guy's is Emirati. No, not the same thing. Close, close. Not the same thing. No. All right. Yeah. I'm gonna say something racist. I'm gonna say this. It's not even racist. I'm gonna say this as a joke because I'm a comedian too. Is that like from far away, like to everybody else? Not too. It's kind of hard to tell them apart. You know what I'm saying? See a Saudi and an Emirati walking in the airport, you'd be like, which one's which? I'm fucked. I'm cooked. I don't know the difference between the different styles of the dress and how, and the no, cooked. If a conflict breaks out, Saudi Arabia, UAE, we're doing shirts and skins. All right. Because this shit's gonna get fucking ridiculous. Like, wait, who are supposed to be supporting? It's like, no, all right. I'm done. Still waiting for Trump. We still haven't started like some kind of formal press conference, so they're just kind of having these insider convos. Shades inside. Yo, that's crazy. Well, something about the way these people live, man. Like unlimited money. Like at some point, there's a level of wealth where the only limitation you have is your creativity and the human capital to actually make something happen. You can snap your fingers and make another Great Pyramids of Giza for yourself. But if you don't have the manpower, the technology, or the creativity, then having all that money is useless. But these guys have the fucking brains. They have not just brains, they have vision. Vision is different than brains. Vision is something you can't see. Brains is dealing with what you got right in front of you in a great way. Right? So they got vision. They took all their oil money and invested it into, biomedical engineering and technology and AI and transistors and all the technologies of the future. So that way they can pull that money forward. They can basically sell all that oil today in advance, get the money today, and then invest it in things of the future that will grow, which is awesome. So yeah, I mean, every country has their thing of like how they make money. They have their resources. And imperialism and colonialism and or just mostly imperialism led to the destruction of these countries. We took a lot of mineral wealth from everywhere in the world. That's what's happening in Ukraine right now. Notice that like the Russian speaking parts of Ukraine, Luhansk, Donetsk, Donbass, they're all rich in mineral resources. It's like all the places that are constantly getting attacked and at war and that are contentious. It's usually over mineral resources. Isn't that kind of nuts? Like no one's ever fucking fighting over like Guinea-Bissau. You know what I'm saying? I mean, maybe I guess we did at some point. Guinea-Bissau has some resources. Let me not shit on them. Let me find somebody else. Like Puerto Rico. Yeah, you guys, these are strategic like geographical places where you could put missiles on the sides and things like that. Yo, this dude, hold on, son. That dude looked like Jason Statham. This guy looked like not Jason Statham. Who's Bruce Willis, man? Yo, they must have fired that Secret Service lady who couldn't put the gun back in the holster, bro. They got goddamn Jason Statham behind him. Oh, they just finished the talks. Oh no. All right, let's see if we can find a recording here. Trump teases good news. This better not be some catfish. What did I expect from fucking CBS? What we've learned over the past 5 years of listening to politics and then especially listening to people's reaction about Trump and their explanations of Trump. By the way, re-entry opportunity right now. Re-entry opportunity. It's going to go lower. I want to see it come back down to the 88.6, but I'm going to put in a tester entry. I'm going to take this trade again. People, I'm up $800 today on each account. I want you guys to think about it the same way I'm thinking about it, is I'm going to risk a percentage of these profits. I'm going to risk $200 from each one of these accounts back into the markets to potentially make another $400 or $600. Okay? I cannot lose more than $200 on this account, no matter what happens. So I'm going to split my positions accordingly. I'm not going to layer in trades by over leveraging. I'm going to split this $200 into 2, 3, 4 different orders. Understood? Keep the risk management a priority. Like, what the fuck is the problem if you lose, but you only lost a percentage of the profits? Like, this is not like trading should not be that fucking hard. Stop making it hard on yourself. All right? Stop it. Don't do it. Trump announces a major policy shift. This is all clickbait, dude. Stop clickbaiting me. Supreme Court hears arguments against or in Trump's challenging the lower court rulings that blocked. Oh, that's interesting. There's a Supreme Court case right now about the birthright citizenship and whether illegal aliens have, I don't even like the word aliens. Illegal immigrants have due process rights. American-born children are American children. Bro, that's fucked. That's fucked. That's fucked. Don't look, if you're gonna play the system and you're gonna get one over on the system, do not sit there and fucking show off and spike the football. That's how you get this, you know what I'm saying? That's how you get a lot of people on the side of just kick out, great people who are here working with families and things. Be like, oh, I'll kick them out, whatever. Do not hurt the case. Do not hurt the case. No tax on Trump reveals the fourth leg of his proposed tax. Okay. India, Pakistan ceasefire. Yo, YouTube search algorithm is absolute garbage. But what makes you think I want to watch all of this random? I'm looking for Trump. Let's see. I'm just trying to get some geopolitical updates, people. South African refugees arrive in the United States. Yo, YouTube needs to get their shit together. Why would I want to watch the 5? I guess maybe it's just me not being able to search it right, I guess. What the fuck are these random news channels?
Shifting up when you're looking at the vertical portion.
Oh, Trump. Oh, what the? Jerome Powell still speaking?
I agree. There's a change in technology in terms of where vacancies were in the Great Recession. Actually, there was a
May 15th.
But I
Oh, that's
don't
that's right now. Interesting.
vacancies relative to 2019. But this speaks to the point that I was trying to reflect. If we want to think about the different measures
Among the EDE switchers relative to who we're drawing.
So Powell gave his remarks. I want to see if there's some kind of Q&A portion.
Of shortfall.
Okay, that was Powell.
Certainly that surrounds our
So I want to think about
Natural rate of unemployment. A la Friedman. I'm guessing it's Milton Friedman's formula for rate of unemployment. Okay. Stable inflation, non-monetary factors, and time variance. Okay. Interesting. Wage inflation measures, job opening rates, actual to counterfactuals. Where's Powell, man? Potential drivers of increasing E flows relative to UE flows. Sectoral productivity shifts, obviously. There's a lot of, okay, hold on. I'm kind of just like perusing through this, guys, my bad. I want to see if there's anything here worth covering. It's a lot of nerd stuff. Sectoral amenity shifts, and then the inflation itself causes additional churn. Wait, what? Models of worker sorting with sticky wages implies the burst of inflation cause additional worker EE flows. That's fucking retarded. They're lucky that they're not barely speaking English and nobody can. Oh my God.
The inflation.
This is why the free market, like the private sector, public sector, whichever one is the private companies, basically. They're the ones with an advantage on data, even though the government and the Fed have access to everything and everybody and all the money flows. The best data actually comes from probably high frequency trading funds or probably the banks themselves. Like I'm willing to I'm willing to bet the commercial banks like JP Morgan have better search algorithms and queries in their internal databases. But then after seeing how shitty the government systems were, and Elon Musk got in there in like 20 minutes, created 2 Excel sheets and like boosted productivity for the government by like tenfold, right? I could probably see a lot of the Fed is probably way worse. They're probably still using that same cave that the Social Security Administration is using. People, there was a cave with real papers, stalactites and stalagmites and shit off the fucking. You had to take an elevator shaft down. Physical papers for Social Security. People couldn't retire in the government without someone going down into this fucking thing and catching not mesothelioma. What's the lung disease? The biggest word, pneumono ultra, the big one. We used to spell it. All right, so the Fed's probably just as inefficient. That's why all of these like adjustments to this equation that was made 40 years ago by Milton Friedman, which is already flawed because Milton Friedman's premises were
Great
flawed.
presentations and great discussion. I have one.
What really counts.
Oh,
is-
Jay
is-
Powell
is
being a bystander is crazy.
my speech.
He's just chilling.
Forward-looking nature. Like,
Looked at minimum.
Oh, there's a discussion going on. Let's go.
You can't have a
Q&A, 2 minutes, and you have a second. Adrian, more.
All right, people, I'm about to nerd out here. I'm about to nerd out. I'm about to nerd the fuck out. We're getting to it. Who the hell are these people? And then who the hell are these people that Jerome Powell would be sitting in the crowd amongst a lot of other Fed officials? The hell is the Lowback Conference? Thomas Lowback Research Conference. What the is the... Where's AI? I said WTF. Okay, yo. Oh, this is all under videos. I was about to say. Google and YouTube have been pissing me off, man. Chat, dude, this got worse over time. A key component of the Fed's review of its monetary policy strategy, tools, and communications. It's a research conference hosted by the Fed. The conference aims to gather perspectives from academics and practitioners outside of the Fed system on issues related to the Fed's monetary policy framework. This is probably the most important fucking thing the Fed does, I guess. Shit. What are we doing wrong? And kind of this open dialogue. But who is up here speaking and who is in charge of sort of like, if it's not the Fed chairman, then who is it?
So with that, Larry, you've had your hand up already. Adriana and yeah, Mark, why don't we take your question and then we'll get to Joe after. So Adriana, you can go and then get.
No, we got Santa Claus in the off season up here, and then we got the lady from The Incredibles. Oh, this is crazy, man.
dynamics.
All right, no more.
You can't have a level as a measure of objective. It has to have the word sustainable in it, and it has to be related to the inflation objective. Now, you get away from that in a while. It has to be a zero slack concept. Has to be a zero slack. And of course, there are many of them, but we could look at many of them. We can't look at everything, but that's what we have to look at. So you get away from the maximum employment, fair enough, and get to that point. But it's very important.
The tester entries and deep profits. I'm actually about to, as soon as it hits that TP2 again, as soon as it breaks TP2, I'm going to close out that little tester entry I had put in on that when the price wicked down. I'm just going to be done for the day. I'm moving my stops to break even. So
I won't win this battle. They'll always refer to maximum employment. The previous statement looked at minimum sustainable unemployment. Got it right?
Thank you, Adriana Kugler, Governor of the Federal Reserve Board. So congratulations on a great paper. There is a lot to like about it. I think something that was really helpful was how you really embrace all three definitions of U-Star. The bottom-up approach with flows data, the NIRU consistent with the stable prices, and the FERU, which is the full employment rate of unemployment by using the V2U as well and incorporating that. So lots to like. I had some concerns about how you move along with this, especially in terms of measurement. So in terms of measurement, I had three concerns. So it's one question, but three different measurement issues.
All right.
Taking them up.
People, I'm out. I'm out. Just like that. I'm out again. Double troubled. Twice. People, I didn't expose the entire geopolitical machinery in the world. I've basically broken down. I've basically got some people unplugged from the matrix today on this stream. Half asleep. The Celsius barely kicked in. Caught the same trade twice, double dipped, and oh my God. All right, people. I'm going to get off the charts before I do something stupid. Okay, this is my advice to all of you guys walking away. You guys want to learn an important skill set for trading? Roy, is it identifying the market daily range? Is it being able, no, it's learning how to walk away. Learning how to walk away. Not even learning, just fucking doing it. Walking away is how you make the money. And that's what we're going to do. All right, so everything from here is going to be extra credit. We might see another we might see a dip back down for a double bottom and a push. Double bottom, as long as it stays above that support of 144, still valid. So that's what we got. He said Powell is a nerd. He said, you are so funny. Well, Samuel, just means you have a good sense of humor. All right, that's all I'm going to read. Take it easy, everybody. Happy and safe trading. If members, if you guys have any questions, stick around for just a sec. All right.